Excellent. So, hi everyone. I'm recording this, and of course, this will be left here or in any GPMS groups if they wish. So, taking the time to answer any questions anyone may have with GPMS, especially in this time. Uh, Let me say I wish to, now hold it, Father, saying no, I won't begin with that. Hmm. What I will do, does anyone have any questions to begin with? And I do have some things I'll say later, perhaps. Any questions about GPMS.world, the divine plan for humanity, which is being actualized in this now? We currently have around 253,000 consents. Most of those are from our beautiful Philippines brothers and sisters with, I believe, close to 181,000 in alignment with the New World, with the consent. So, amazing job done there. And what I will say, I anticipate worldwide that it should be a rush anytime soon with this, where we'll see other countries coming in exponentially consenting as well. Um, so we are in this very crucial determining period on how much of the mass consciousness awakens to the next level. And so this is very instrumental and very good for GPMS.world. So as a course of events play out over the next 2 weeks, more and more will become to realize the necessity for GPMS and the realization that it has to be done as soon as possible. So, however many those numbers are, it really, let me say, doesn't matter that it is definite and that more do awaken to the higher consciousness in the knowing. But with this as well, what we are still looking for divinely with GPMS is to gather the divine designees that are already have been divinely planted upon earth for this great time to come together. And when we gather one of these, if you will, um, one of these affects, let's say, a million. So with Sister Lodi, using you as an example, Lodi, the great work in the Philippines, but as a result of, I believe, you possibly being the first one from the Philippines to come into GPMS and the great work you're doing, although it's taken quite a while worldwide, you have, almost a fifth of a million uh, consented, and more brothers and sisters joining and assisting you as well. So, what I need to say is that never underestimate the power of one. This is very important with this. And what we will say, GPMS.world, and with this overall great awakening, it is not by chance. It's divinely inspired, and it is time for it. And there is the reason for the great awakening, and there is the point, and it's to liberate humanity from this current savage environment that they are existing in, as we know. And yes, it's savage in a world of plenty for ones to dictate what one is worth with money. And this occurs with the classes of people what the current beast capitalistic system does, how it deprives ones of their intrinsic right and their intrinsic value and places them into places of hardship, lack, poverty that leads to death. And that is a savage environment. It is not competent at all. So, what you have is all of the current worldwide leaders propagate such a capitalistic beast machine, if you will, that endangers many. And again, to keep it simple, 30,000 daily around the world die of hunger and hunger related causes. And most of those children, around 15,000 or even more, and just in the last year or less than 2 years, that number has doubled. It has gone 100%, meaning that a few years ago, dying of hunger, there was around 15,000 daily. Right at this point, it's over 30,000 daily. So you see it escalating and exponentially. And again, it's ridiculous and it's savage for the simple reasons that um, all of the technology is here now worldwide that can make deserts into oases, if you will, to plant food. Food with the present technology upon Earth can be planted anywhere and in great abundance, meaning that there is no reason, no justification, no substantiation by any world leaders for anyone to be deprived of food and in place of lack. It's all because of their system of capitalistic system of profit and gain and valuing the money as the value instead of the individual. But I don't need to go so much into that. I believe most of you know that here. So, having said that, are there any questions about GPMS dot world? So, I'm here to answer those if any have any, or if you wish for me to expand on a topic with GPMS, that's fine as well. So, I open the floor up. Any questions?
Hey, Rick, and everyone. This is Paula. I have a question. It, it's kind of it's related to GPMS, but it's sort of like on the peripheral of the avenues utilized for, let's call it, marketing or advertising GPMS, because that's what the current system uses. And maybe a few days or a week ago, I was looking on X, because I use Telegram a lot and I also use X probably the most of the two social media. And I was curious if there was any presence, right, of GPMS world on there. And I saw, Rick, that you have an account and that there had been some outreach that had been done to, let's call them influencers, even though I don't particularly care for that term, but that's what people know them, those that have a lot of people in their community or audience. And I was just wondering if there was, if there's an effort to reach out to those people, if there had been any that were receptive. I know that's part of this discussion about where the consciousness is at, or if it was just basically crickets. And also, maybe it would be something where I could put together a list and we could try some outreach again. So that was the basic starting point.
Oh, Paula Joe, please forgive me. Could you just simply then put what your question is in to one sentence? I got a little bit distracted here with my microphone. But
My
could you?
my question
Yes.
is, as far as the outreach to people that have a large community that are on social media and post up videos, etc., that may be ready to be in alignment with GPMS. Um, they're known as the influencer crowd, if you will. If there was maybe some assistance that would be needed there, either for myself or anyone else that knows of someone, or if, I guess my curiosity was about what's been done so far. Has there been any interest or resonance with those that have a large platform to share GPMS?
Thank you so much with this, Paula. Can you hear me well? Am I close enough to the computer?
You're a little quiet now.
All right, how about now?
It's about the same.
All right, perhaps just give me a moment for. All right, how's this?
Much better.
Can you hear me well, Paula?
Yes, yes, much better.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
I'll
you're
continue
clear.
here. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so what has been occurring with what we call prominent influencers is, let's say, truthers, if you will, and ones like that that have great followers, great followings worldwide, just to keep it simple. You know, some of these influencers is what we call them because they have large audiences, and to various degrees, they're on track at least with knowing that something is wrong in the world. But even though they don't fully know uh, to the fullest extent what is wrong, they don't need to. Um, Ideally, they don't need to. However, we're seeing that perhaps this is not quite the case. But nevertheless, we have individually over time, many will attest to this. When you see a huge influencer group and you go in and you give them GPMS, what you will see most, if not all of the times, you will see that your comment will get, um, let's say, censored or eradicated. Your comment will get taken out of there. And so what you find is that these what are supposed to be bona fide, genuine speakers for the people are actually ignoring and rejecting GPMS.world. So now with this, when you see it, what is occurring is two things. One thing is that they could very well be controlled opposition. And what we call by controlled opposition is ones that are actually paid, if you will, by the darkness to put themselves out there under the guise of trying to do good for humanity. And whenever these ones see GPMS enter their ballpark because it goes against the underlying agenda, what they have, they will censor it immediately. They do not want their followers seeing it. So you have ones, if you will, that have sold their souls as well, that are bought by the money. And when you look at some of these truthers, I believe I looked at a post. I didn't vet it myself, but I believe they had one of these truthers making perhaps 1 million a month, and of course one's in there making 10, $20,000 a month. So you can see how this has become a lucrative business for the individuals at the expense of many, feeding them false information and not giving them GPMS.world. As for promoting with GPMS.world, we only ever did a small funding just to raise enough funds for the website to keep it up and running. So for GPMS directly itself and a computer, we've only ever raised approximately $2,000 uh, in in the 3.5 years since the inception of the GPMS Divine Plan. Having said this, because GPMS, it's supposed there's this element that we wanted in the beginning for genuine ones that could feel it and identify it divinely so that they would come and stand shoulder to shoulder with their brothers and sisters. Because ones need to realize many awakened ones have already been seeded with some type of a good system that was coming in the future. And it's these ones, and we have some of them today. Um, and perhaps a lot more. I cannot count how many, but having said this, they have already been their self divinely seated with the information and with the guidance. So we were ideally looking to bring all of those together first. And it is my knowledge upon Earth that there is about 5 million of these to some degree that have been seeded uh, with this information and that are also uh, at the soul level inclined to orient with GPMS.world and hence gathering these divine delegates that were already placed here for this time. Ones need to realize that GPMS.world is the divine plan. It's been, if you will, ordained and seated upon earth for millennium. So again, nothing is by chance, nothing is random with the Great Awakening. What has occurred is that again, there is actually a spiritual battle that is ongoing. And the darkness themselves are so afraid that in their desperation, they keep making false narratives and all of the other tactics that they do that we don't need to get into to keep their old system of control, manipulation alive. But actually, money is is the tool that they use. And on planet Earth, the highest truth is it's not about the money itself, it's about the energy and the evil control of money to produce negative emotions from humanity. And of course, when ones are in always struggling to survive, they are producing into the reality, releasing into the reality a negative quotient that is connected to the overall environment because in reality, darkness cannot exist in a joyous environment. So they use money as a tool to maintain a negative environment for them. And that is part of the highest truth. To answer your question, what we also suggest, some of them cannot see GPMS at all because of the intense programming, brainwashing, and conditioning, meaning in all of its simplest form, they cannot see it. And what you will find is with ones that have been more educated, and not all of them, of course, but you will see ones that have been educated in economics and uh, everything in the old world. The more educated they are, the less that a lot of them are able to see GPMS dot world because the conditioning has been in depth into the beast machine and how it functions. So, having said this, to try to give them something that is outside of the box of the beast machine, they will not even see it and they could not even grasp it. But again, it's not about every individual, it's about gathering at this time all that can see GPMS, all that can feel it, and gather those because they are the majority. Very quickly, there is the urgency with GPMS.world upon Earth. And one of the reasonings for that is that we didn't have divinely time to educate everyone to undo the programming, the conditioning. So, divinely, what we are doing, because all of creation is energy, is gathering all of those as quick as we can that's in alignment with GPMS and the new world and their inner knowing, being there to know that they are here in this great time on earth for a very important reason. So, what occurs because GPMS is the full divine plan and element, it has the top priority on earth, which means that it is inevitable and it is imminent to the degree that when you look at changing an entire world overnight, if you will, that is the imminent way that we are doing. But also, what I need to say with all of your storms that you see intensifying worldwide, they are all made of energy. However, where the world has become overbalanced with suffering and negative emotion, uh, and all of the reasoning for that, it is amplifying the storms as well. So it again has been preordained for divinity to step in when we have 3.5 years ago to begin to mitigate the effects of this huge negative energy, because in reality the darkness, their plan is they have lost, so they're trying to destroy uh, earth as much as they can and to take as many humanoid lives as they can. And I don't need to go into, what began more notoriously about 4 years ago with a mass genocide attempt upon humanity, but it revealed and it exposed clearly for many who the actual perpetrators was, but still there is part of the illusion in the programming that many couldn't see that yet, but in the course of the next few weeks, many more will be phoenixes rising out of the ashes of that illusion, if you will. But Paula, did I ramble? Did I answer what you asked?
Yes, you answered my question. Thanks, Rick. I'm thinking myself about when I see certain videos of people that are talking about, say, the storms and the flooding in North Carolina or Florida or other places, Spain, around the world, and these people have a video that goes viral, and I know you've mentioned that this should go viral any moment. And so I guess what I'm thinking about is just myself reaching out and sharing this to those that they're clearly not controlled opposition. They're just those that are awakening now, like what's going on here, and they happen to now have a lot of people watching their, say, if it's a reel on Instagram or if it's a short video on TikTok, or those platforms that are utilized, that they may be open to hearing this and then sharing it.
Can I just pop in here and say that absolutely, I have tried to share it. I'm mainly on YouTube, to be honest, and Telegram. Um, so I have tried to share it with quite large channels, and it will often get deleted. But I just keep on doing it. And what I've found is that when you don't put your comment on the main comment board, if you like, but you comment on someone's comment, it seems to get through a little bit more than if you do it on the main comment. But I've also shared with a lot of channels that I thought were in complete alignment, because they're basically saying all the right words that are exactly in alignment with what GPMS.world is. But unfortunately, they've still often been deleted. So, but it doesn't stop me from keeping on trying. And in terms of the list, it's quite difficult because everyone's sharing, all over the world. Yeah, I think it was difficult to, because I had suggested that, and it was difficult to sort of compile that list because everyone's just trying to share wherever they can, wherever possible. So we just left it at that everyone just continues to do that. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jenny. And I think if I'm hearing you correctly, because I know that this is a protocol for anyone that, maybe is not aware. When there are live videos, let's say on Rumble, for example, or YouTube, or even on X, it's a common practice if somebody puts any link in the chat that they will all be deleted because they just assume it's spam or bots or something. So to your point, putting them in the comments is the place that they will less likely be deleted.
Yes, and I've also found I don't put the link because those definitely get deleted straight away. So I've tried various things, just putting the GPMS in capitals with written out small letters dot and then the world in capitals, and then just saying, look at that website. I've also tried doing it with the dot in brackets. So I've been trying a few things to get it without the link, But anyway, we just carry on, onwards and upwards, eh?
Yes. Also, what I suggest for ones, when you do this, when you're in the comments section or wherever you feel, when you write GPMS world or dot world, uh, write official, GPMS dot world official. And one of the reasons for this is in the search engines where you have this official in it, you will raise the GPMS dot world up in the search engine selection so that it's closer to the top, if you will. And so that is a suggestion. And at least in the past, yes, it worked. This was the reason why I'm saying to do it because I've tested it and it did work. As soon as I put GPMS dot world official in the search engine, it would bring it up. I think about, I was watching it for a while to about sixth place on the Google search engine. But if I just put in gpms.world and did a search, I think it was like down 23, 26 places. So it did work. And I suggest that. Going back, Paula Joe, to what you said, this is so beautiful that you're also witnessing others that may be open to GPMS that are beginning to get bigger followers. And what I will say, uh, and not going into every particular, but everything is divinely orchestrated for the divine plan. So when what we look at, what you're saying, Paula, I'm looking at it as an indicator of the beginning of that as well, with perhaps what you could call a change of guard with the truthers, where now you're having ones that are perhaps more open-minded and oriented towards the solution rather than the problems that keeps getting regurgitated, and of course the fallacy of the excuses, what they put out with the other hardhead, if you will, that are not open. So I'm glad to hear that, Paula. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. But with that, GPMS, yeah, we don't, as of yet, I need to say GPMS directly was not doing any other fundraising for promoting or marketing. As I just said earlier, we only ever did enough to keep the website up And what we anticipated, the mainframe of GPMS, which is the website and gathering the consent, and the priority on gathering the consent and not being distracted by fundraising or assisting others in time of need. The priority has to be on the one goal that ends all of that as soon as possible. So what we do is, again, not GPMS itself, nor the phase one of it focuses on that. However, each individual of GPMS.world, each member can do what they wish to do. Meaning if they wish to do a fundraising for promotion and marketing, that is the individual GPMS's choice, member's choice. And if a member wishes to, do a fundraising for someone that is in very great need, that is their choice to do it as well. However, again, what you will find is you may not be as divinely productive if you get distracted so much by trying to save and assist everyone with money from the current system. It defeats the purpose. However, with I speaking out, there were there were deeper divine reasons involved in I did a fundraiser for 75 charities that had formed an alliance under the umbrella of GPMS in Uganda to, as a goodwill gesture, but also to monitor and observe side effects and any spin-offs from it, which had to be monitored and observed by I. Where am I at? So I did a fundraiser with that as a goodwill gesture, and it took a lot of time. And also from the compassion from my heart as Rick here to, give the children in Uganda, all of those that had consented with GPMS and wanted it, they were becoming organized as a goodwill gesture to raise enough money because each child in Africa, a meal only costs about $1 to raise enough, which we did, to distribute that and say, hey, for the children and the directors of the 75 orphanages, if you will, that um, GP that to say to them, hey, it's a great job, and by no means is it to buy them off. It's a token of appreciation, and for us to let them know of their circumstance as well, and to assist, everyone when a child smiles when they have a great meal, anyone with a heart knows how good that feels. However, again, I took the time upon myself, and others assisted, of course, to do that. But what I will say, I will not be doing it again to my knowledge. It was an experiment as well, but also it doesn't, with what I do, I cannot be distracted at doing these sort of things. But more importantly, what I wanted to do with it was to show the organizations that with their unity, where they had 75 had joined together to create an alliance, to show them the effects of that at fundraising, because especially in Uganda, in Africa, and of course other countries worldwide, there are many scammers. And because of scammers, children that really need the food are not getting support as well, because these scammers are actually indirectly endangering the children's lives. So, um, being noble, divinely noble, and honorable, also to that respect, if we were able to weed out um, some of the scammers and get the genuine ones there, then more assistance would come for these children temporarily. So it was a test to see how effective it could be. But getting back to things again, anyone can fund. I believe Brother Denovan for GPMS is attempting uh, to do this, to set up some sort of a fundraising um, where we can have, let's say, perhaps some wealthy philanthropists or even individuals donate to a fund, a slush fund, if I may use that word, to assist at promoting and getting GPMS.world out there, because one of the things, especially in Africa, is that many they need to have a phone or data as well. And the more they're more effective with some of these tools to assist them. And when they can be supplied with a phone, some become nomadic and begin to embark upon going into villages, gathering village consents where they don't have any access to internet. So you would call them missionaries for GPMS. And in the past, a few years ago, I think it was as high as 49% of the world did not have internet and or access to internet. And when you're looking at 49% or 47, I think it was, almost half of the world's population. So it became obvious that in some way these ones need to be reached, and the missionary, if you will, is or was the way to do that. And also, rightfully so, when you look at these ones that uh, cannot afford a phone or internet, when you look at them, a lot of them, most of them, are in great lack, meaning that they cannot afford it. And it is also where our biggest majority vote consent for GPMS will come from, because these are the ones that are in, if you will, dire straits that needs this new world. So you need to accommodate that. I'll stop there. Is there any other questions?
I would like to say something about that. I'm Yolanda. I'm from Netherlands, and I am already busy in Africa to set up something like this with family and friends I know there, but they don't have much internet, I should say. But I'm trying to set something up in the Gambia, the Africa country I know. So I already busy there in small way.
Oh, thank you, Yolanda. And Gambia, I believe you said the Gambia. Yeah, yeah. This is so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to hear this as well. And ideally, in every country in Africa, we will be in there as well with GPMS at some time in the future. But I'm happy to hear that this is one of your divine designations to get the word beginning to be spread in there. Beautiful. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
again, yeah, yeah. And again, it's each member's, a choice on what they wish to do. We have Sister Esna D from the Netherlands. She is currently working with Southwest Nigeria, I believe, and doing amazing work there as well. And yeah, this is, how it's done. Each one use your own ingenuity. There with GPMS, there is no bosses. There's only guides or consulting, if you will. Uh, each one does it. You are yourself, your own boss, if you will, quote unquote, your own boss, um, with how you do things, and we suggest and and guidance. Yeah, whatever way works, use your divine ingenuity, and it's all great. And also importantly, when you come up with great ideas, share it with the rest. The rest of your GPMS divine comrades in whatever way you may feel as well to do that and to share the ideas, and this becomes more productive as well to assist. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, somebody's waiting for a question. I just put out a post today, and it's so important, so I'm going to take the time. Uh, I'll just I see you there, Kevin Connect, but just hold on for one moment, and then I see you have your hand up, and then I want to share this. I put out an important post today, and just to re recap what it was about, or to reiterate, worldwide, under the age of 15, I believe, children under the age of 15, it comprises 25% of the world population. In any democratic country, if you will, when they have the vote, it's eligible voters. And of course, the children are excluded. So, under the age of 16, to my knowledge, it's Brazil, I think Argentina, that children are allowed to vote when they attain the age of 16 there. In other countries, it's 18. What this does with GPMS and the right of self determination, which is fully activated and recognized in every child, um, it gives, and that's why GPMS is takes every child's consent and agreement the same as ours, because their unalienable right of self-determination is being respected and honored as well, and rightfully so. GPMS.world is their uh, new reality, and they have a right to choose it over what they have now. But I wish to make the point as well. I used in the post the example of the 2016 US election, and I use that as a perfect example. So these are just relative numbers, they're not exact. But what I wish to say, out of approximately 320, 340 million Americans, in that election where Trump won in 2016, he won, I believe, somewheres with 50, maybe 55,000 votes, which equated to the overall population of about 17%. Now, why this is important, you saw Trump ruling all of America when he actually only had 17% of the vote. But now you can take this, we can go to Australia, and what you will find with their vote in 2022 is that their ruling party is actually ruling with, again, less than half of the population, and quite possibly quarter of the population. This is important because what you're seeing when you look at this, you're seeing it's not majority, it's actually a minority of the populace. And when you take a relative figure of about 17% allowed um, uh, allowed the US ones to rule with Trump, if you will, it also shows that perhaps with GPMS.world, we only need one decimal 4 billion closely. So again, with this, I'm showing that the numbers that ones think, yes, ideally we want uh, 4 billion to enact it securely into law. However, at the same time, and I've said this before, when you have also 1.4 billion, you have the most powerful voice gathered with GPMS ever known upon the earth. And that itself moves the rest of the mountains in the blink of an eye. But also before that, but I needed to bring it up to show ones how the actual world was functioning with a minority in power with what they present. So, having said this, it's not hard to accept that perhaps with 1 billion in GPMS scattered all around the world, um, that it does fully break down the old system. And as I said before, in any individual country that a majority vote consent is achieved, there is going to be very important in the full favor of GPMS some lawful implications that are going to occur, meaning that at that point, the people in any individual country then lawfully and technically, but lawfully owns all of the infrastructure in that country, including their central bank and the way that their governance works. So with this, GPMS is incontestable in its superiority because it's absolute law, which means in that country it has no choice but to give the power to the GPMS people, which have comprised a majority. Now, what this does is create an instantaneous um, chain what's the word? Tonight I keep losing some of the words. A chain reaction, if you will, that affects the rest of the world, because in that country that has just taken the lawful ownership of how their country creates money and distributes it, but under the GPMS um, concrete platform, it has made that country's um, money and the use of money the most superior and valuable upon the earth for the simple reason the way that their money is created is based on the unlimited intrinsic value of the individual, which never can be outpaced, it cannot be competed with, and it cannot be diminished, which puts the onus on the rest of the world to quickly oblige and to come up to pace with this as well. So you can, this is an example how an individual country can very quickly do this with a considerable population. You don't want some of the smaller countries, you can have them do it with like, um, 100,000 or what have you people. But when you look at GPMS already, we have 250 thousand, which is a notable nation and but more powerfully, it's a universal nation with its laws and its um, the way that it will print money is superior again. Nothing can contest it. Nothing can diminish it for what it is in its absolute power as well. So it's very important for ones to know the actual power of this um, as well. I'll stop there instead of rambling. I think we had Kevin. Well, I think maybe he left. But is there any other questions? Hold it. Now I see Kevin is back. Yeah. All right, Kevin, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Rick and everyone. I joined GPMS just so I could have more contacts mainly, but I'm involved with another humanitarian organization as well. Um, Rick, could you tell me, um, ours is much smaller than yours. Would you be willing to work together with other humanitarian organizations for with common goals as yours?
Uh, with that, GPMS is the all-inclusive divine plan. So our focus is on lawfully gathering the majority vote as soon as possible. Uh, as for humanitarian projects and organizations that are there, as for we don't get distracted by doing those things. Our focus needs to be on doing the one common goal that ends the need for anyone to ever um, need to try to look for funds for humanitarian projects, if you will. GPMS delivers to the whole. So, having said that, what is occurring, and ideally, is for all of these other beautiful, good intention organizations, as for yourself, uh, if they need to become a little bit more educated in what GPMS is, but just come together for the one common goal to free all of humanity, because again, GPMS is the full solution for every problem that exists today. So we already know it, and ideally, uh, everyone coming together in solidarity because we already have the full solution, if that answers what you were asking.
Yes, but I feel ours has the full solution as well, Rick. And how are you funded?
How are we funded? What do you mean? How is what funded?
Well, the organization, the projects, everything that you're doing. How is it funded? Is it funded by individuals? Is it funded by a trust, St. Germain's Trust? Is it funded by some other trust? I don't know.
Let me say there is a lot of ignorance out there yet to the respect that ones do not know what has actually been occurring on Earth. But nevertheless, we don't need to get into that. If you're asking where the funding comes, what I suggest is again to read the website of gpms.world so you can understand it better of why it is the all-inclusive system. When you look at trust funds worldwide, there's been many false narratives associated with things worldwide for millennium. What GPMS.world does is that none of these trust funds are required, neither is any precious metals, neither is any funding from the old system. As I just said a bit ago, that the intrinsic unlimited value of the individual cannot be compromised nor diminished in any way. It is the most superior form of value, if you will. So GPMS doesn't kneel or conform to a lesser program. It already is the ultimate. You cannot go any higher to what GPMS already is. Does that answer it?
Well, it's very interesting, and I want to learn. Obviously, I want to learn more. Also, one other thing. What was it? Um, oh, uh, Do you believe in a soon coming rapture event?
Let me say, GPMS is all inclusive. The rapture, the condor and the eagle prophecy, let's say the Hopi prophecy, let's say, what is it, the Kali Satya, I believe, uh, the new world, the golden age. GPMS is all of this. It fulfills all of this and more. It is the full deliverance. So, yes, I do use the term. It is the rapture as well. And with this great awakening, when you look at a rapture, what is it? It is a sudden upliftment, and that is what is occurring with the consciousness, but also in alignment. GPMS is liberating the full planet. And again, I don't speak what I'm about to say from a ego from the lower dimensional consciousness um, without what I'm about to say is I am a divine liaison between Prime Creator and the planet to deliver GPMS world here. I am not bought by any funding from any corporation or anything like that. What I do with taking GPMS world forward divinely for the planet, because it's what Father Prime Creator has given me this job to do, I conservatively live off of, if you will, what you would call less than the poverty rate of many countries. So this is not about money for I, and this is not about Rick. What we're actually doing, this is the important divine mission to take all of humanity out of the clutches of a few controlling and owning money in the distribution to that, if that answers what you asked.
I resonate completely with that, Rick. Yeah, it's all about raising everyone from lack into abundance in anywhere they so choose. They choose. So, yeah, we. I have really common goals with GPMS, I think it's called. But I think we'll be able to probably work together on with common purpose to achieve these common goals that we have in a humanitarian way for every country, for every man, woman, and child. Okay, yeah. So our vision is similar. That we want everyone in abundance. We want everyone to receive the education they wish. We don't want any lack anymore, ever. We don't want control over others. We want them to be sovereign and co-create with Father God, with Creator God, Divine Mother, Father, whatever you call it, Source. So as co-creators with Source or Creator, whatever you call it, we're supposed to go forth and recreate the golden age of mankind. So that's going to be a total new reality from what we know now. Totally new. Um, so we have to have open minds because all these new concepts coming from Rick, and I resonate with, I've heard him a few times. I resonate with what he has done. Um, Maybe ours is 10% of the size of his, but it doesn't matter. If we have common goals or very similar goals, it's for the benefit of all. Uh, so, that being said, I think we'll eventually have a common currency among all of us, and we'll be our own sovereign bankers as well. No one will control our currency, whether it be energy or some sort of uh, something to pay something with, whether it's in the quantum or whatever.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
GPMS dot world is exactly what you're saying. There's no other way. It will happen, and in my heart, I know it's going to happen very soon. So what you're referring to will all be covered by GPMS. Like Rick said, there's no need to get involved in other the same thing when GPMS is already there.
If I might try and give some understanding, is that the humanitarian projects are beautiful and needed, but as long as those humanitarian projects are still trying to flourish within this current system, it won't work. And so yes, you keep your projects, your vision going. However, in order to shift that reality into the new reality of the new system, it requires the energy of the souls coming together and making that one common choice, which are all those things that you've just described now: the sovereignty, the abundance, the freedom, the joy, the bliss. But we have to unlock, we have to take back control of the funding and all the infrastructure. That's the only way humanity will be free. It cannot be free under the current structure. And so that is what GPMS is. It is the new structure. Does that make sense?
Oh, I totally agree. All the old paradigms must fall before the new paradigms can be built. Yes, but we have, whether it was downloaded from the heavenlies to, Rick and then someone else or not, it's very common. Our goals are very common with what Rick's organization. So maybe, hopefully, after the event where we're more aware of what's going on, uh, maybe we can join up in the future, because it sounds exactly what I am dealing with here. So,
I'm
uh,
sorry, can I also just clarify as well? It's important, I think, to not think of it as an organization, because it's not really an organization, GPMS.world. It's the gathering in one voice. So it's not really an organization because, as one would normally think of an organization. And sorry, I was going to make another point there that I thought would be of benefit. Oh, yes. And then obviously, all these humanitarian projects will have unlimited funding. When everyone comes together and agrees to that one goal.
yes,
It's
definitely. I totally agree. Like, say we want to turn Africa into a giant garden and wild game preserve. Yeah, we would have to all work together to do that. Like 10,000. Say if there's a giant aquifer underneath Africa. I don't know if there is or not. It could be. But say there is. 10,000 wells will need, or more, will need to be drilled all across Africa to bring up that water so that we can turn Africa into a garden, giant garden for the whole world, and distribute whatever we need, and have maybe another continent or large area, Texas or something like that, for another garden. Or
and also and also there's nothing stopping the members of your organization, giving their consent. If you're all in alignment and in agreement, you can still continue with whatever humanitarian projects you are involved in, but at least give the consent that yes, this is what I vote for, because that's really what it is. It is a vote.
correct, we're all equal. it's an equal vote, and it's an equal decision as a collective in unity consciousness. That's what the goal is. Have this unity consciousness towards instead of the get away from the duality, right? Because the duality has caused all this nonsense since the garden. So we want to go on to the golden age, which is a leap, quantum leap in our consciousness, and probably restoration of our DNA back to 12 or 24 strand, and then we can go on much easier because we'll be aware of where we're supposed to go, which will be much more fun, right? Instead of fighting and bickering and trying to gain control over something that no one should control because we're supposed to be doing this together. Right?
Exactly. And this, I mean, everyone is talking about unity consciousness, but I mean, how can we have really truly come into unity consciousness when we can't actually come into unity with a vote? So this is where, we have to come into unity as one before we can truly enter into unity consciousness. For me, it's very simple, but that's just me.
Yeah, for us, it's simple, but for the majority of humankind, it's not that simple. They don't get it. So that's why I think we need a rapture event where there's in it's a worldwide event, rapture event, where it's not really a rapture though. It's a ionization. It's a increase in the ionization of the ionosphere, which causes something within us to evolve to a higher level. There, that's it in a nutshell. I'm not getting into it further because it's a secret.
I was also thinking, with everything that's going on, America is going to be really, I think, the hardest country. Um, and something is, I don't know what, but something has got to, I guess, happen. Even my own family that I thought was so open minded and religious, but yet spiritual. I mean, they're ready to disown me. So, and their families, they just think I'm just weird. They're not, they just, I mean, I'm floored that they don't get it. And they're very intelligent people, educated people. So, something is gonna have to happen. I would assume, I don't know what anybody, I'd like to hear what anybody else has to say about this. I hope this is along what you all were talking about. I just kind of got in. So if you would elaborate, and thank you, Jenny, for mentioning organization, because I was kind of having a little bit of an issue because I was saying organization and I didn't feel comfortable saying that because I didn't really feel like it was, but I couldn't find a word for it. But gathering, I think sounds much better. It's more welcoming and it's not threatening. So we're working with a lot of people that are still in a lot of fear, and they're coming up with finding out all these lies about everybody that once trusted, and then it turn around and trust something else. I can see that it's hard, but something's gotta break.
I totally agree, Dina, that it's not an organization. Jenny had a better descriptive word than I did because I am used to that old word, right? But it is a gathering. Yeah, it's a gathering of like-minded humanitarians working towards the uplifting of humanity to a higher level of not only consciousness, but abundance and family and back to family values and away from this leftist, radical leftist ideology, which is insanity, away from that stuff, that fear based, doubt based, material based garbage, ego based garbage. It's got to be, coming together. We're all family. I don't care what color we are, we all have the same blood. I guess you've heard that one, but it's more than a cliche. We're all divine fractals of creator, source creator. So, as such, no one's better than anyone else. I'm no better than Dina. Dino's no better than Jolanda or Paula or Everson. Like, we're all equal. We all have our own unique gifts that we bring to the table, like a almost like a Lord's Supper, but it's amongst all of humanity, where we each, when we have our voice, we have a gift inside us, each one of us, that we bring out by our voice and say, hey, what if? Hey, here's an experience I had. And it's like bringing something to the Lord's Supper. And we're all being edified by whatever someone else says, just by their experience, by their knowledge, by their wisdom, by their discernment about something. And that's how we bring it all together into the quantum, because every time we figure something out, it goes out into the quantum. So everyone now has access to it. You can call it cosmic consciousness or whatever you call it. It's just like a big source of information. So when we add to each other or edify each other, that adds to their torus field. That adds to their vortex, right? Of quantum knowledge, wisdom, energy, whatever, love, what have whatever you want to focus on, basically. But it's all attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Where your intention goes, your energy flows. As long as you keep focused, and you can achieve miracles that way, or creation. Uh, imagining, what's that phrase? Imagining creates reality, or even possible materialism from thought, from consciousness, if we know how to do it. I don't quite know, but I think it's possible.
And just what you were saying there as well, that's exactly, and that's what I love. I love to think of GPMS.world as the puzzle board, and each of us, beautiful souls, as the puzzle piece. And we've really all got to get onto that puzzle board to create that beautiful new picture, that new vision. And it creates one big, massive think tank, and there's nothing that can stop us. So it's such a beautiful thing.
This is Bridget, and I'm from the United States. And when I just wanted to share just a few thoughts for what they're worth. Years ago in the mid 2000s, and I've shared this with Rick, I can't for the life of me recall what group of people this was, but I was listening to an audio tape and it was talking about life elsewhere on another planet and how they didn't have a monetary system, they didn't have police, their whole world was very similar to what the GPMS is. And I remember at the time thinking, no police. How could you not have police? And people need structure, and I kind of just always kept that in the back of my mind, but never really focused on it. And then Rick walked into my life, and I felt that what I had read years ago came to fruition. And I share a lot of all your feelings, and especially about the United States, because I'm in the midst of it, and living through COVID as a healthcare worker and seeing all the atrocities that happened just really transformed me. That it didn't take much to convince me about GPMS because I did feel that it was divine. However, I have had challenges with my family and friends and even explaining it. And it's when I step back and detach, I can see where they're at. A lot of my friends are baby boomers and worked a long time to build up their resources, and they haven't seen the money fail yet. And they have picked a side, right or left. They picked a side, and now I see a lot of arguing and fighting starting. They're at that phase. So something does dramatically have to happen. But I think all of us as supporters of GPMS have to look beyond our earth and see. And I know, Rick, you said this, I thought you did, or maybe I'm making it up, but that you refer to other places and that we're having the monetary system temporarily, whatever that means, but we will eventually go into a non monetary system. And I think if we change the way we're looking at it to the next level, then maybe some ideas will flood into us on how, and I'm speaking for myself here too, how we can have conversations that are much more effective to be able to help people understand where we're at. And I'm sure we have a ways to go too, because right now we're only envisioning it and trying to figure out how that's going to look as we transfer. But I know I've been struggling. People say, there she goes again. Okay, it's mom, stop. Don't talk about this anymore. And I'm getting those kind of pushbacks. So I'm trying to re-strategize by looking at the whole conversation differently. And so I just think when Rick shared with what was going on elsewhere, that was very helpful to me. And then tying in from the past that information was out there long ago. And now it's just finally hitting our planet, our people. So I think we need to go beyond the earth is my
We
thing.
do. And Rick comes from a higher dimension.
Yes.
He's somehow tracked into a higher dimension, as I have over time. It wasn't automatically. It was just due to getting your chakras in line, and connect. I I listened to Paramahansa Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi, because I wanted to just go inside and try and awaken or become more enlightened by yoga, meditation, and so on, because that was part of my job for what I'm doing here. So, yeah, I accomplished it finally after 2020. I kind of changed quite a bit since from 2020 until now. I've changed immensely. I'm not the same person anymore. I'm higher, not a higher, but a different frequency, I guess.
Yeah, that is exactly. I'm so glad you said that, Kevin. That is exactly. I wanted to ask uh, the ones here. I'm beginning to not feel human, and I don't know if that sounds strange when it comes out of my mouth, but it's true. And I was just wondering if others. I'm sorry, I've got children here. I'm just wondering if others are feeling that way. It's more like observing up high and watching people, even though you're down, level with them. And in my case, I'm a lot lower than them, but I still feel like I'm observing them from up high. So I was just kind of would love to hear everybody else's perception on that.
You're becoming more enlightened, Dina. You're becoming more aware. Your eyes are becoming so that you can see more. Your ears are becoming more so that you can hear more and comprehend what you're hearing. Your frequency, you're feeling more love towards a goal of a better place in the future. So your vibrations are increasing, and you're staying in harmonic resonance with Mother Earth as she increases her frequency as well. So, and then, we're probably all going through with ascension symptoms, but as like ringing in the ears and upset stomach, all kinds of different things. We got to release our old paradigms, our old fears, our old doubts, our old ways of pharmaceuticals. Go to a more holistic, remedies. Eat less meat, especially pork, but other things, right? We have to don't we don't need DNA from animals in our bodies. They still consume a little, but it's a transition, just like what we're going to go through with the monetary system in the near future. It's a transitional phase. It's not a permanent thing. One day, like you say, at the higher dimensions, we won't need that, because everyone will have everything, and we'll just say, what do you need? Oh, need help put your roof on? Okay, I'll be right over. Just let me finish my coffee and grab my hammer. So that it'll be different that way.
And this is, if I may, and this is what we're doing with GPMS. So we need to settle, if you will, the old inventory and stock. So we don't wish to just go quickly into giving everyone money. So it is being done in a very rapid transitional process to, let's say, liquidate all of the old stock and for it to be appropriated lawfully where that old value needed to go. We don't wish to take anything from anyone, and we're not doing that, of course, but it's also being responsible in balancing out the sheet of the old inventory. And that's why the money is being used by the people in a different way to buy out the old system. And also because the GPMS money is unlimited, it easily does that, but it goes through this process. And I just put out a post the other day, but what occurs is that, yes, very quickly after we have the GPMS implemented, everyone is going to say, what are we even using money for? We are a worldwide community, and plus, because the energy has been, the frequency has been raised on Earth, you are going to have the first public contacts. You're going to realize that there was great technologies that were here long ago, kept from humanity. The things that you're able to see now that is used and labeled as technology, you're going to see most of that is actually primitive and it was part of your enslavement. But nevertheless, again, that's what GPMS does. But the transitioning is with that. So, what we do is with the transitioning, again, we get the worldwide majority, and you need a majority because a majority, all in alignment with the one thing, is what substantiates a reality. So, for example, what you have today worldwide with this current system, humanity never had a choice of another system before until GPMS.world. So, having said this, all of their focus and their alignment was on that old system. But what is currently occurring is the transitioning through the realization of ones that they have another choice at a worldwide system, that they have the choice of the GPMS system, which is based on love, harmony, unity, community, sharing, all of the good things. And this is why this current old system, which creates, as I mentioned earlier, uh, death, deprivation, all of these unnecessary things, it cannot compete with the ultimate of GPMS dot world with what we're doing. So it's all a very rapid transition, and again, the most prudent, um, common sense thing to do is to gather the majority to substantiate the reality of GPMS, because without that majority, it becomes very difficult to do so. Yes, it is true as more divine brothers and sisters become even more enlightened in their consciousness raised, that they affect many more. And yes, one enlightened one, if you use that analogy, does affect a million. When you look at it with GPMS.world as well, there is the 100th monkey effect that is involved in it, meaning that it's quite possible once we have 6,000 altogether of the higher consciousness enlightened ones, they will affect the 6 billion, the masses. So you can look at it many different ways, but it doesn't matter how you look at it, it is divinely inevitable. And with GPMS, it's been kept logical. Everyone knows that a majority vote rules. And this is what GPMS is doing. So it cannot be any other way. So it's all inclusive. It's concrete. There is no loopholes in it because it is the divine plan for planet Earth. It is the promise being fulfilled in all prophecy and scripture and what have you. So it's already, I like to say it's already preordained because it is. We're just following the script to make it the true, real reality that was promised. So, is there any other questions on anything with GPMS?
Yes, I would like to ask in behalf of my brothers and sisters. Hi, Rick. Am I coming in clear?
Loud and clear, Lodi. Go ahead.
Okay. As you have previously announced that this coming November 15 is the very um, possible implementation. Um, that news is very well accepted, and most of the brothers and sisters giving consents here in the Philippines are excited, and they are asking how fast will the financial assistance uh, will go, and they're asking about the instructions and how will they claim the funds. But because for the information of most of our brothers and sisters here in the Philippines, it's been years that they were expecting financial assistance since 7 or 5 years ago. So every organization, every humanitarian foundation that is announcing that they are collecting names and listing beneficiaries for such and such funds coming from whoever trustee or whatever kind of financial assistance they hear about, they are eager to submit their names. So that's why no wonder that the Philippine consent is so very actively coming in on the website. It's because of that. So
All
one
right.
question that they are eager to know the answer from you, of course, apart
Yes, yes.
from my own explanation, is that's
Hmm. Well,
their
this is
concern. Yes.
you're welcome, Lodi. This is being recorded. And so, what I will do is recap what I was given from Father Prime Creator, about 2 to 3 months ago, that it was very, very possible for GPMS to be implemented by November the 15th. Now, with that wording, it did not say that it is. It said very, very possible. So now, when any of us look at that and we look at the world and we look at the amount of numbers, the first question you're going to say, how is that even possible? Well, for I am the same way. And I trust Father when he said this and when he said to put it out. Now, for this, it can still occur because with God, all things are possible. But what it does suggest, if it is going to be implemented, then what we would anticipate is something huge and miraculous would have to occur to effect that. I don't know if it will, but I do not rule that out because I know fully the power of God. But with this, what we said, it's very, very possible. But it is not guaranteed that I know of, unless Father, Prime Creator, has it already guaranteed. Like if he spoke from the sky to everyone on Earth, you could see very quickly that you'd have all the numbers with GPMS. But what I'm saying is, I don't know, and this is what he had said. So, with that, that's why that was put out. Now, with the Philippines numbers, even before uh, that was put out about a possible implementation on November 15th, uh, the Philippines numbers were high anyway, and were going higher and higher, as they are all around the world. So, again, with that, truthfully, openly, and honestly, and every bit from Rick, if whatever, if Father, if you will, has up his sleeve in the lines of a miracle, it's very possible. So I don't push anything aside. Nevertheless, if nothing, if GPMS is not implemented by November the 15th, we still continue forward because it is the only way. And so many have been bestowed with that divine knowing that it is inevitable and imminent. Um, Also, with this, I was going to, you asked another question. Oh, so let's just say if GPMS was implemented today, what I would like to say that within a week, funds would be dispersed to most worldwide. It is not a difficult task to do it. Ones need to realize that money created today digitally is more or less done in the blink of an eye with someone typing figures into digital accounts. And with this, GPMS is going to be both digital with the physical printing presses as well. It's whatever humanity decides. But what will occur once we have the majority vote, it makes the most common sense to use the most easiest thing in most places with the digital accounts. So everyone that has an existing bank account, without me getting into full detail with how everything works, let me just say that once the worldwide financial routing system is gutted of all of its encryption gates, its backdoor ledgers, and all of this, it's a free flow system that directs money instantly from one place to someone's bank account. So it's done very quickly. So anyone upon the implementation of GPMS, I'd like to say in about a week, everyone is receiving funds. So if that answers that as well.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lodi. And again, I wish for uh, yeah, this is what Father said, possible by November 15th. But when we're also looking worldwide at events that are playing out, we know it's very close, regardless. But also, I wanted to get to the logical part of GPMS with what Kevin had asked and others again, but I wish to take the time again just to say that ones don't really need to be awake, that GPMS is being done tangibly and logically as well as Jenny had said earlier, Sister Jenny. It's a worldwide referendum, it's a worldwide vote. So, again, logically, one could say, okay, it's a worldwide vote for this new world. And once we have the majority, we have it. But also, a logical one would say, well, who is going to do this? But then, if they think if someone is doing this, they must already have someone to do it and the full know how to do it. So, logically, everything with GPMS can be rationalized as well. And it had to be, when I go back to the sense of urgency upon earth, for whatever divine reasons, we don't have time to uncondition everyone and educate them in GPMS. It's given as a choice. Do you want this new free and abundant world? If so, then vote and agree. So it's kept as simple as possible.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can there not be an event online where everybody who is busy with GPMS comes together with music and other things so that more people can gather there and more votes can be there then at that moment? I don't know. That's what's coming to me. That's what I want to add.
Yes, Yolanda. Exactly, very possible as well. There is some point when GPMS does go viral, and you can see, if you will, with it going viral, how quick we can also have the consent. So I still don't rule anything out because, again, the power of God, which I fully know, I fully trust beyond any conviction. And I would not be doing what I'm doing if I did not have the full absolute conviction and knowing that God is real and that this is the divine plan. Believe me, I would not be doing it, but it is, and this is the reason I'm doing it. But Yolanda, you brought up a point as well. See, what we're dealing with is creator consciousness and energetics, which is creation itself. So it is possible, yes, that there could be a flashpoint, if you will, in reality where everything could change instantly too. And I don't rule that out because I know that is true as well with dimensions and multi dimensional abilities and how things actually work beyond the physics of the human comprehension. These we are dealing with the abstract supernatural forces that have never been explained fully by man because the mystery of life had to be secured here in the past. However, we are at the time of the full revelations, meaning that ones need access in their consciousness to the information of how to transcend reality, and especially in this time, to transcend from the current worldwide system and the fear reality it has into the heaven on earth GPMS worldwide system where there is no fear. And again, it's only a temporary, we put a label of a system on it, but it's really just a transitory instrument that is indeed temporary because once we have everyone there in the heaven on earth scenario, there is no longer a GPMS world. So it's just a temporary vehicle to get everyone there. Lodi, did you have any more questions for our Philippines brothers and sisters? And also, Yolanda, if you had any more, please ask after this too. Thank you.
Please, I have a question to ask. I have a question to ask from Nigeria.
Brother Oboro, yeah, but just let me check with Sister Lodi first. And did you have any other questions right now, Lodi?
Nothing else for now.
All right,
I'm good.
excellent, Lodi.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, if any more come up, please ask me while we're on this call so I can give that information for you to share outward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can
Yes,
go ahead with
Oboro,
the
brother.
good evening once again.
Good evening.
You welcome, big brother.
Thank you.
Currently,
Yeah.
currently on the GPMS Telegram page. I saw this posted. That's why I have to come in here and ask my question. My question is, I have seen you posting recently about the world's population. You talk about the children, you talk about the adults as well. Now, you, peradventure, talk about 1.4 billion population that is required to have GPMS actualized for us. And on the other way around, you also talk about a GPMS not required that particular 1.4 billion to come to exist. Now, my question now is that I want you to clarify issue here because we don't know. So, can GPMS be actualized without getting that 1.4 billion? Or will it be that 1.44 billion that will be required for it to come to exist?
Great, brother. Okay. I'm going to answer this because there is more than one explanation or answer with this. So, what I will begin with is that when you look at 1.4 billion, that's a huge number. But when you look at that, I'll move it up to 1.5 billion now. When you look at that number in GPMS.world, GPMS.world is a universal nation with its laws intact and its um, its way to print money. So it has everything that a nation needs in that respect. But also, it's a universal nation, meaning that its participants are not from any individual country, that they are actually from the whole world. Now, when you have a universal nation comprised together as one, which we are doing with 1 decimal, let's say 5 billion, then when you look at India with 1.5 billion and China 1.4 close to 5, those are the two most populous countries in the world. But when GPMS reaches that number that is greater than any one of these nations, not only is GPMS the most powerful nation in the world, the most populated, it is the most powerful as well. And with it, it has precedent, or what's the proper word? It has the power of this because of its law, again, its absolute law, which is above, which is superior to artificial man made law, and because it has the full ability and know how to uh, efficiently and proficiently run a full, secure society, it cannot be diminished in any way. Um, the other way is that what we're seeing with what I just put out today, when you look at an individual country like the US, what occurred is the 2016 election had about 17% supporting that Trump, if you will, that got in. But what's important is the numbers. When you count the children together and all of the populace of the United States, the number is actually 17% is deciding what the majority was doing. So about 1/6 of the population supported the Trump government. And this is very important because when you take those numbers and prorate them out to the 8 billion worldwide, you come up with a number of, I believe it's 1.36 billion. So, what this also means is that the world, with a new worldwide system at 1.36 billion, can quite efficiently run the worldwide system. Now, with these two analogies, what I did is took it down to a logical, rational thinking process. But what I need to say overall, this is divine. I just use these statistics as tools so I'm able to present different perspectives to different levels of consciousness. Did that answer that, Brother Oboro?
Yes, you've been able to answer the question very well. Thanks a million. And I have another question to ask. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, brother.
I never for once talk about money, although I know it is part of GPMS. But I am a little bit worried here. I want to know how it will be wired to the masses. Now, my question is, I overheard people talking about a printing of ATM card, automated teller machine, a card, ATM to the people. Will it be through ATM or money will be wired direct to the masses? How is GPMS going to work in this in using money? Is it going to be through ATM or wired to people's account? That's my question.
Well, before I answer that, what also needs to be considered with GPMS as we gather the consent worldwide, what is actually occurring is organically we are gathering all of the different skill sets uh, that are presently here, especially with, let's say, IT specialists, software programmers, and what have you. So, having said this, we are gathering all of the resource in the skills and the potential to make anything work, which means there are no obstacles. It will just be chosen, by the people and by the specialists what is the best, most efficient, and quickest and simplest way to do it. So, ideally, from here, as I say, uh, we open up the financial routing system because the people takes ownership of that. That is public infrastructure, and the people lawfully owns it now, really. So we open that up, and what you have is a disbursement of funds coming from not just one system. What you have is not one hub. What you have worldwide in every country or region, you also have your hub. What they have set up now is central banks with every country. But what's going to be occurring is the people are taking the lawful ownership of the central banks in every country as well to be used as a temporary distribution hub for the funds. And also to keep it simple, with most worldwide, well, not most, I won't say that, but let's say many worldwide already have an existing digital bank account or an access to be able to receive funds very quickly, like a PayPal, a Venmo account. Ones already have these sort of things set up that can be utilized. But also, what I wish to say at the time of implementation of GPMS, all of your technology and data becomes free, um, or mostly free in the moment. So there are so many things that complicate the simplicity of it working, that from this position here, where the world currently is, if you think of things that could complicate here, these things do not are not present upon the implementation. So it makes things much easier. So not only do you have, let's say, uh, not only do you have the distribution from the hubs into the digital money into the bank accounts or into your paymaster. The paymaster is what we call where you receive your funds from and to you. You also have the physical printing presses if those are needed for a temporary time as well. Now, also, what you have with GPMS, let's say if half of your country uh, doesn't have a digital bank account. Well, now let's do it this way. This is easier. Uh, it won't be like this, but uh, let's say 1,000 in your country has digital bank accounts, while the many other hundreds of millions don't. These bank accounts could very quickly be utilized to distribute funds as well. The point of just saying that as an example is that we have all of the solutions. It depends upon what the people choose, and it's so easy to distribute it as well. But not only is the individuals receiving money, what you need to realize is that every essential goods and services has a bank account to do transactions in as well. And they are all fully topped up with money at the time of implementation. So once their old inventory is paid for, that they are to be giving appliances and what have you free, because the people actually own all of the manufacturing capacity and everything, the metals that went into making whatever it is. So without going like fully into the intricate detail, as you might begin to see, we already know the full schematic of making it work in 7 days or what have you. So this is a non-issue whatsoever. Did that answer, Oboro, what you asked?
Yes, yes, you've been able to answer the question. Please, one more question before I go. Can I ask one
Yeah,
more
go
question
ahead.
before I go?
Yeah, certainly. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, I overheard you talk about PayPal as a means of transferring funds to the people. And here in Nigeria, we do not have PayPal. PayPal doesn't exist here. Now, you talk about digital bank account, in which I have one here, but the one I have only works within Nigeria. Now, someone cannot transfer money direct to my bank account here because it is not dollars account. It's a domestic bank account in which I want to believe it is also digital bank account. So I want you to make it clear. Can GPMS wire money or transfer money to my domestic bank account here in Nigeria without using other medium like Swiss and Western Union money transfer or whatsoever. Can that happen
Uh,
with GPMS?
yes, GPMS can transfer money anywhere. We need to go back to what I said with the existing financial infrastructure worldwide in that routing system. It's comprised of encryption gates that identify different banks, if you will. What we do is all of these encryption gates that are in that infrastructure, they all come out. So there is no, when money goes from the administration hub directly to the individual, there is no more middleman. There is no encryption gates to say and identify the owner, the deposits, or what have you. There is no accounting in the GPMS world and the disbursement of funds. And there doesn't need to be any accounting because there is no debt. With GPMS, it's a current flow of money outward to the individuals. And at that time, no bank, you got Western Union there that can be utilized to give funds to everyone as an example, because the people own the internet. There is no private ownership of any financial instruments like that in the old. So you have access to all of this. You also have access, if you will, in Nigeria, you probably can go to a store and buy gift cards. Now, with these gift cards, if one even has that in their uh, in their hand and has no other accounts, those can also be on a temporary basis topped up. And also, you have others that can be distributing funds where needed as well. So, just to instead of going into a lot of the intricate details that I just did, the answer is yes. Any existing way of sending and receiving money, all of those worldwide, everyone has access to wherever they may be. So it is no obstacle or no hindrance at distributing the funds worldwide. Did that answer it? Brother Oboro, did that answer the question? Brother Oboro, you're muted if you were trying to speak.
Oh, I want to believe you have been able to answer the question. And GPMS will come to serve us right here in Nigeria and Africa as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. As you can see, just look around your towns. There's so many ways currently that money, once the full system is open and free with GPMS, there's so many ways to get money to you instantly in the blink of an eye and to all the people. So it is no obstacle, it is no problem whatsoever. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
You as well, brother. Great work there in Nigeria.
Yes, we are actually working here. We are doing a great job here, me and my sister.
Yeah. And we're very grateful for you and your sister and all others there as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm. So, any other questions? Any other questions? Someone, Poonham, you have on your audio, and with that, this is only an, or you have on your video, this is only an audio recording. So if you're trying to show us anything, it will not appear in the recording. But nevertheless, any other questions? Well, it's what I will say. It's pretty silent, but anytime in the future you access this link for the GPMS Q&A, anytime in the future on this Telegram channel as well, questions can be written and guardians and representatives of GPMS will answer any questions that may come up. So you can also write these. I just decided to do a audio tonight to get things rolling and let ones know of this tool that we have as well. So all of you that are on here have been introduced to this Telegram channel of GPMS World Q&A, and you're able to put any questions in here that may come up in the future about GPMS.world. Any other questions? Brother Lee, I see you on here. Anything to add? I know you weren't on in the entirety of this.
No, not so much, brother. I'm just listening to what's going on, um, keeping an eye on it, and seeing what's being asked, following a little bit, but not too much, my friend. We're still in a time of flux, relatively, and I anticipate that in the next sort of 7 to 10 days, as we well know, that significant change may occur, and ones may come up with newer questions at that time. So this seems to be a repeat of the old. Relatively old contemplations, let's say. I anticipate that we have a little bit more of an influx with a little bit different questions, let's say, in the next week or so. So excellent that the channel's here, brother, and that ones can put in their questions and their contemplations, and we can satiate that as required, let's say.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, and usually if you're on here in the entirety, you always compliment, things what I say, and together, I love that. We make a great team in that respect. We always can add to the other usually, so that's beautiful. Yeah.
I only popped in a little bit earlier, brother, and sort of you were answering, you were speaking with Kevin, I think, Canadian Kevin, and realistically, you were already in flow. There wasn't much more I could say. So it was divinely so that I stepped back in this one, and we'll no doubt, what would I say? What's the word? Sink like we used to, my friend, as we go forwards.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. But I found myself tonight, brother, some of the common words I use in the vocabulary, I couldn't even find those. That would have been a good time because you always have them. But nevertheless, we get through everything with it. Um, what I wish to say for everyone, so currently we have around 253,000 members. This is a significant number when you look at worldwide today with all of the governments worldwide. They are operating with about 47,000 individuals are operating the world, controlling all of its logistics. 47,000 politicians worldwide today are dictating what 8 billion are doing. The universal nation of GPMS .world has almost 5 times as many as that. So GPMS .world, with its platform of the entire abundant and free system for humanity, is already, with its support and its representation, almost 5 times bigger than what is here. And also with the consciousness, there is no match from that, meaning that the 47,000 politicians worldwide are not competent to the degree to do what is right in the best interest for humanity. And neither do we need to battle, oppose, or fight them. They simply have no authority. They are divinely incompetent, if you will. And this is one of the reasons why we don't focus on any competition with them, because there is no competition. Again, GPMS is all inclusive. Did you like to add anything to that, brother?
Not so much with that one, but I just felt to go back to Brother Ibero and his question relative to how will money be transferred. And I wish to take the consciousness out of the existing structure and remind him of what GPMS actually truly is. So we're talking here about things like Western Union and the other sort of money transfer protocols. But the government of Nigeria receives funding by the International Monetary Fund plus all of the other higher institutions to the tune of billions. And you own the governments in Nigeria, it is yours. All of the government encryption, all of the higher administration encryptions, all of the funding structures that actually fund the system is owned by the people. Western Union will not even be a consideration. The Nigerian administration will receive as much funding as it requires to fund every single individual in Nigeria because it is owned by the people. This isn't GPMS doing this. This is the Nigerian people in line with everybody else on the planet that take ownership of the complete system, including all of the higher echelons, the off-ledger accounting, and all of the above the system ways of moving money. We take ownership of what is truly humanity's complete, and we open the whole thing up for humanity. When Brother Ibero asked the question, he was very, very adamant. How will I receive the funding? It's not about you, brother. It's about how would your brothers and sisters receive the funding. If they haven't got bank accounts, how are you going to assist them with the money from the administration level? Not from your independent individual level, brother. You are a representative of the divine team that is going to be administering to the whole of Nigeria, not just to yourself. These contemplations can be considered on a much higher level. We are not playing here. We are changing the system forever to be equal, unlimited, and remove any type of lack and scarcity. Whether we talk about gift cards and buying these for the first 5 minutes of the system is very, very mute. This is about complete obliteration, for want of a better word, of any idea of lack and scarcity. And we must start to walk this now in understanding that we are moving the whole system, not little bits. We're not going to try to get the money through WISE or through Western Union. We are taking ownership of the whole system because the people are choosing to do so. So I wish to add that too, just to take it slightly out of where it was with the very first bits of transition into where it truly will be within days of this coming to transition to coming into fruition. These systems will be in place, which will completely unlimit and remove all of these fear-based limited belief systems of what we are going to do for each other. We are going to completely change the way everybody considers everything, because that's what the divine children of God choose to do. So I wish to add that too, brother. Much love.
Ah, perfect, brother.
Okay,
And this led
can I
me
say
up
something?
to
Can I say
uh,
something?
just one moment of Boro, brother. I wish to just add a little bit more, please. Thank you. So, what's going to occur? Let's take Nigeria, for example, with what Lee was speaking about. Your current centralized bank, the bank attached to your government there, you take ownership of this bank. Now, the ones that are going to be operating this bank as a hub to disperse funds outward are going to be all of our brothers and sisters connected to all of the others worldwide that we all agree to every child, woman, and man to do the initial distribution of what is approximately a $20,000 US equivalent. So, with this, when you also look at, let's take Nigeria just as an example, but we could take Uganda or what have you. When you have the majority of the people in any current country or nation that have um, that have consented with GPMS, it actually is the lawful instrument that allows the majority of the people in any existing nation to peacefully take control of the centralized bank. There cannot be any opposition because the people are the majority. When they choose this, no existing government or military or police can go against the people. And also, their conscience will not allow any military to do that. And no government worldwide is going to be as silly as to attempt to get their military to fire on the people. So there is no battle with this. It's divinely ensured. But also, when this occurs, this is why we say in any country worldwide where the majority have consented with the universal nation of GPMS dot world, it makes things happen instantly and it also cannot be stopped. But in any individual country, when that country decides by the majority of its people to print unlimited money because you have unlimited value and because you have reappropriated what is considered as extrinsic value, but you had placed the value within inside of each one of you, which is unlimited in your ability. No other nation worldwide can compete with a nation that has the majority of its people in the lawful ownership of all the infrastructure within that nation. And it sets off a rapid chain reaction of catalytic events that brings the rest of the world into this new lawful reality. Lee, do you just anything you want to touch up on that with any articulation before we go to Brother Aboro?
Not so much, brother. Let's let Brother Ibarro say what he needs to say and then maybe add again. Over to you, Brother Ibarro.
You're welcome, big brother. Now, what I want to say is that I am not curious about money. Let's roll out money here, although it is part of GPMS. Now, here in the country in Nigeria, a lot of financial systems are owned by individuals and not the government, except for the central bank. There are so many other financial systems there in which the government do not own it, but individuals. And GPMS is talking about taking over all the financial institutions in which hundreds here are owned by individuals. Do you really think those owners of those financial systems will give this to GPMS just like that?
I will answer this right and straight away for you, brother. Yes, because their money will be valueless because nobody will be using it. You will be using your own money, and this will have nothing to do with the capitalistic structure. So currently, you may have many that are that consider themselves owners of banks. But what? Sorry, brother. There's. Can you put it on mute for a second? It's bouncing back through. The current system, ones may say that they are privately owned banks, but they are not. The capitalistic system is completely and utterly owned by the dark factions and the dark echelons. Ones who say they are privately owned, they are not. They are funded through the major ones, and the major ones keep a very straight control over what it is they are doing. The people of the country will decide that they are the value and no longer use the existing currency, whilst taking ownership of the printing presses and the infrastructure which is rightfully yours. All these ones that have got private banks will be left with is the paper products that they have, which are worthless to the people that are valuing themselves and not that paper anymore, my friend. You must understand. This is I understand the fear that you have with regards to going up against these demons. They are powerless. They are terrified. The only thing they have over you is the fear. Once that, there's 246 million in Nigeria. 150 million of those turning around and saying, we do not value your system anymore. We value ours in line with divine law, in line with our brothers and sisters all over the rest of the planet, in line with do no harm. You change the whole of your country, brother. Do not be worried about these fear mongers and their purported enforcement tactics. They only have power because they have you at lack. They have you with limited resources and you are scarce and you are separated. That's the only power they have over you. Unite and they disappear, my friend.
I'd like to add to that that GPMS is the end game to whatever you like to call the deep state, the cabal, the darkness. This is what Lee is saying. It is the end game because their money with the capitalistic system has no value, meaning they can no longer buy anyone. And there is also no incentive for personal gain in the GPMS reality where everyone has more than enough and is sharing everything equally. So no one can be bought. But what this does, GPMS.world renders all of the existing money in the current system as being valueless with the transition to the GPMS money. So any lawful accumulated wealth in this current system, rightfully so, and lawfully so by any individual, is redeemed at par into the new system. But any unlawful money, if you will, and especially by banks and what have you, that a lot of it is unlawful. It's not given to these bankers. It's not realized into the new world. With the darkness and the cabal and the big corporations, they knew exactly what they were doing to humanity. So with this, there becomes we don't need to decide who is lawful or not. What happens because of energetics, it is organically resolved with that they have a choice at what to do, but it's not us for to judge them, and neither do we need to judge them. There are circumstances that play out to ensure this without getting deeper into rambling on.
Brother,
With big brother. And can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Now, what you are saying is true, and we are not afraid. Me myself, I'm not afraid because my father was a warlord fighting for Biafra during the civil war that occurs between 1967 to 1970, and I have his blood flowing through my veins and arteries. I am an activist. Currently, I come from oil-rich area, crude oil-rich area. There is enough crude oil in my community. I come from the riverine area in the south, and the government take over everything. They don't allow us to work. They don't give us anything from the crude oil that they extract from the water. I am from the riverine area. They allow us to suffer You need to see where we live. I live my life on the street. For the past, since 2015, I graduated from the school. There is no job in the country. But crude oil is flowing in my vicinity. And the government take over everything, the northerners take over everything. That is why we strongly stand with GPMS. Even if it will require to take arms to actualize GPMS, we are ready. And currently, the leader of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is in prison. He's a prisoner of conscience because what he wants is referendum for the people here. That's why we stand with GPMS. We want GPMS to come to exist. I am an activist. All of us here, we are fighting for self-actualization, be it financially or otherwise. So we stand with GPMS. I'm not afraid of anything.
Wonderful, brother. Wonderful. Then all I would say on the top of that is think bigger, think bigger, think bigger again, then think bigger again. Put your guns down. There is no need. This is going to be done peacefully. And the dark ones that don't care for you, that feed off you and would rather see you disappear, will disappear themselves, my friend. Just trust and have that strength and have that activism and walk with it with your chest out and your heart pumping, brother. Forget these little thoughts about how we're going to do it and know it comes to fruition. Forget the details about how and why and putting the guns and having to fight these ones. This will never happen. They will disappear. And there is the divine harmonic, my friend. This is the time for this. This is the time to stand above these limitations inside what one can conceive. And I understand that you say you haven't fear, and I understand why you say this. But nevertheless, limitation within the consciousness is going to be overcome, brother. And this is where we currently are. This is very key in this moment. We are releasing the old, and the old disappears. What we have to do is consider inconceivable outcome. Consider heaven on earth and imagine that you don't even know what it looks like yet or how it will be. It will be more than you can even contemplate currently. And that is what we are going to bring. And we're going to bring it because divinely it is required and divinely it is the time for these demons to be released and the children of God to have their playground back and the human experience to become what it was before it became this. So understand this, hear my words, brother, and hear the strength in them. There is no doubt, there is no fear. And I do not wish to take you past where you can conceive, but I wish for you to consider going there in your own time, in your own strength, and in your own heart and love, brother. Know what is happening is true.
You're welcome, big brother. That's why me and my sister, we are working tirelessly both night and day. We have been able to add more than 1,500 consent to the GPMS website. Those we have added stood firmly with us because we want to be free from all forms of penury and suffering in the country. Person like me, I graduated in 2015 and I'm on the street looking for jobs from the government. So they take over everything from us and we are suffering. That is why we stand firm with GPMS, knowing too well that it is from God and not human. And one day it will come to pass. GPMS will come to exist and we will all be free. So thank you, big brother, for the courage and enlightenment.
Thank you, brother. Keep going. Grow your team, my friend. Share this. You can't do this on your own. You need more. We need more. We need virality. We need others to get on board. We need ones not just to consent, but to share with their brothers and sisters, to share with their family, to share with their the ones they see on the street too. So more than just you and your sister start to add these consents, to collect the voice, to share the choice, to share the hope, to share the actual, to tell people what is going to happen and remove them from their fear, brother. So this is what we ask too, is not just to share and collect the consents, but to grow your team, to grow those that see, to utilize others, not just yourself. This is not a cross you need to bear solely, brother. Others will share with you and others will grow with you. And this will happen very, very quickly once divinely allocated. We're not quite there yet, but we're very close.
Thank you, brothers. The key is unite, do not fight, do not engage in it or any of the political arena. As you know, if we consider Africa as part of the Eastern world, you've already gone through all of the experiences with dictatorship, governments, and all of these things. The Western world is the biggest hindrance at this time. They have not gone through the extent of experiences as you have. They, for the biggest part in the US, they are still caught up into the fight and the illusion rather than uniting. However, when this breaks in the US, it's going to cause a mass exodus into GPMS.world as well. And it could very well be so within the next several days or 10 days. This could be part of what Father was saying, that allows for GPMS to be actualized in the very near future. But again, the thing is, unite. The people are the majority. The people are the strength in numbers. It is common sense. And with anyone on here from the US and even Canada, everyone needs to unite. And there is the strength in the numbers. Don't get caught up in the ridiculous political arenas. These are, with the political arenas, they all go to lunch together. They're all part of the same team. Don't get caught up into these illusions, false campaign promises, and things that keep you looping into the same old. For example, in the US with the Constitution, what we see wants is bringing back a republic, if you will, and going back to the old. Well, the thing is, the old did not work. If it worked, you would not be where you're at today. That is simple logic. None of that works. It's all trash. You've got to throw it all out the window and start with the clean slate of GPMS.world.
Brother Terry, I saw you on a minute ago, my friend. Have you got something you'd like to say?
Yeah, basically, I was gonna try and say to Brother Eyebrow that when I was a child, I used to think about the people in Africa having so little, just surviving and dying plentiful, and I used to wonder, right, if we can fly a plane and drop a bomb in another country thousands and thousands of miles away, why can't we take some bags of rice and just drop them on Africa and help the African people to survive? That was my thought as a child. So what I was going to say to Brother Ibro was, even if we have to print money and just drop it in Africa, because money is a pointless thing anyway, it's just a slavery tool. So once the conception of GPMS world, things are going to change. Food will be virtually free. Everything will be completely different. And he kept referring to. It seemed to me that referring to the old world, but we will become the new world with GPMS world. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, it's put. I mean, I spent time now in Philippines, in Cambodia, in Thailand, and I'm in Sri Lanka currently, and India right next door. Of course, Africa's around the corner. China's just up above, and the poverty, the worthlessness, the starkness of it all compared to the Western arrogance and self-belief, and all of this it's just two different worlds. And the amount of people, the amount of assistance that has been removed, the degradation, the removal of humanity through these systems of oppression is, for want of a better word, dark. It needs to be seen. So each must stand and see what the truth is of what was, and remind themselves that never again. So nothing that we have experienced, nothing of it is of any value except the virtues that we've got from it and the understanding that never again. And that comes back to what Terry was saying there. Where we're going is going to be completely different to where we've been. This is why there can't be any what Rick is talking to too, about playing with politics and talking about constitutions. These were fake when they were introduced. History is fake and has been faked and written by the victor. The victor was the dark entities constantly. That they're the losers now, but they played their games. They had their fun. Now it's time for them to be released and everything to turn around to become exactly what you know it to be in your hearts. Exactly what that innate love, compassion, that spark of creation tells you this should be. And this will be extrapolated and shared equally amongst every single spark of creation here, valuing the true identities, the true natures, not this fakery and what's been imported in and indoctrinated and imposed upon humanity as if it was real, but the actual truth and transparency, integrity, virtue, and honor. And this is where we will be very, very soon, brothers and sisters. Much love to you all. Everybody is doing beautifully and perfectly, and just keep going with this and know that what is about to come is divine.
And beyond belief. But it will happen, and it will happen very quickly. I feel in my heart that it's going to happen pretty soon.
Thank you, brothers. And so it is indeed. We would not be doing this if we did not have the divine conviction and know it. And yeah,
I,
so, you know,
I
as we,
think I think everybody from GPMS should be together and let each other feel how much we shine. Thank you for all you saying this evening. Really, we have to be together. More of us. We have to be together.
I totally agree with the ones that are in GPMS. No matter what country we're in, no matter what we've been through, if we stay united, then we have nothing to fear. We can do this together, and we will all do it together. I have complete confidence in you and myself that we are going to do it and are doing it. Amen.
and so it is, beautiful sisters. So, with that, is there any closing questions or comments?
I do have a question, and it may be, kind of on the dark side, but I have wondered, and you probably have answered it, but it somehow it slipped. Okay, so we're implementing this. We're really got down to the nitty gritty, and we're starting to the money and everything. How do we? What if some of these dark people have guns and all that and want to, take over? I mean, am I missing something with that, or am I going back into a different
Uh,
realm?
Dina, Dina, what you're missing is the power of God and the assurance. So, having said that, as I said earlier, and I reiterate time and time again, Rick would not be sitting here doing this if I did not know beyond beyond all doubt that this is real and that this is the divine plan. If I did not know that, I would not be doing this because it would be, if you would call, a suicide mission. And I'm not here to do this, and none of us. It's all divinely ordained, if you will. This is why we tell the people you don't need to fight, just unite and trust. And there are other abstract forces that are also taking care of things. Ones you may not see them, that's why they're abstract, but never exclude them and never underestimate the omnipotency of God and all of us together as well. Lee, I think you might have wanted to add something there.
Yes. I'm going to take it into the energetic route, and I'm going to talk about dark nights of the soul. And I'm going to talk about the release of sacral energetics within the individual construct, where anxiety, fear, anger, shame, blame, guilt have all been released to whatever degree the consciousness can take, or the soul contract is currently at. But nevertheless, where one's had anger, where one's had a grievance, aggression in the past, all of a sudden they can't act upon that anymore. Those frequencies are no longer available. They've harmonized them, they've neutralized them, and they haven't got them anymore. These are the same on the collective as it is on the individual. Everything is fractal. The energetics are fractal. When we're talking about weapons and the dark ones using them, we're assuming the dark ones still exist. Well, does the dark still exist in the ones that are full of light? So as we're looking at a unity on the planet, as the more and more come together, the whole consciousness, the morphogenetic field, the whole frequency of the planet shifts incrementally currently, but nevertheless, that can happily shift very, very much quicker. And these entities no longer exist, and nor does the desire to utilize those frequencies anymore. The consciousness can't even comprehend that that would be the case. And this is all dealt with, as we would use the word, abstract. But this will become much more conscious as it becomes more evident to the masses. So at the moment, we are in this movement transitional area currently where these energies are being neutralized in the background on the individual level, but no different to the collective consciousness, the planetary level. If you look at each separate country as being a different part of an individual body, your own body, for instance, and each one of those carrying out their own frequencies, their own energetics, their own neutralization, their own harmonics. And we look at the planetary aspect as an individual being. And all of the individuals on it are the individual frequencies that one would carry within them. And as they harmonize these, what we're seeing is that's happening on a collective basis, country by country by country by country. But individually it must be done, and collectively it must be done. And the whole world, effectively, the whole system is undergoing its own collective upshift, where these frequencies no longer exist. They're no longer operatable on. They are lesser and they are lower. And the ones that may use these no longer exist here. They disappear. So I'd ask for ones to consider their own journey and then look at that on a collective scale and imagine that the planet is them, and all of the individuals within the planet are their own experiences within that they've shown love to, they've neutralized, they've forgiven themselves, whichever way you look at it, and they've lifted themselves into their hearts. This is no different to the collective. Everything is fractal. So I'll add that to it if that helps.
Thank you, brother. Let me add, let's take the U.S., Dina, because you're in there. When we look at the U.S., let's say military personnel, they're under 3 million. When we look at a population of around 340 million in the U.S., if you come with a scenario where these 3 million are going to begin to fire on civilians, you're seeing the huge meltdown, and there is no support of any government. And what I can say very quickly, those 3 million military, yeah, they may have some arsenal, but they are quickly outnumbered. But also, when you look at their conscience, when they're given an order to fire on civilians, innocent women and children, are they actually going to do that? The answer is no. So again, there is no war, there is no contest with it.
I'd like to continue that theme and take it back into a linear timeline whereby things haven't changed too much, as I just extrapolated on the divine level. And the likelihood of what Ricky's just talking about is quite high. Governments protecting themselves by ordering their militaries to fire on the civilians. This may happen in a timeline that I don't not. It's a possibility. But what this will do is very rapidly mean that the military that are human, the military that are souls, will very quickly turn to the people and take down the military that is dark. So we may see that play out if divinely necessary to shift collective opinion on a worldwide scale. But it will be small relatively, a bit like the flooding. It's like puddles as opposed to the planetary one, and it may be a divine necessity on a timeline that is a possibility. So all of these we have to wait for. We have to see what's going on, but ultimately they will have divine necessity, and they will bring about a swifter, less chaotic version of raising humanity into the next echelon.
May I add with this for the people? We are quite informed, and mostly I purvey everything out publicly, what I know. But what I will say is that it is true that there are good factions and contingents of military worldwide, but they are not organized to any great degree. And I love using the Romanian and Russian military as an example. When the vaccines first began to be rolled out, all of their military had to have them very rapidly. With the military good contingent in Russia, 40% of their comrades either died or became very sick. Let me say they were in talk with their Romanian um, military comrades to a degree. But what has occurred is that there was no strategy, no structure. Even though I did come into contact to purvey the GPMS strategy for to gather their people, to my knowledge, yet there has been no great action towards that effect. But again, what I need to say is that yes, substantiating at least what Lee is saying, there are the good facets out there, but they're not organized to the degree that many of the what you call um, I wouldn't even say fully awakened ones, what they may believe. So I needed to add that in if you wanted to add to it, Lee.
No, not so much. There's so many possibilities that we are dealing with here. To put something in that's anything more than that is kind of mute. We're currently in a flux position again where um, direction is to be given, if you will, as opposed to understood. And although we are all omnipotent relative, well, we are. We're still unaware of the divine plan um, on the ground. We still have to manifest it. We still have to unite. We still have to do the things we have to do to bring it to fruition, into creation, into reality. So without going into extrapolations or without going into possibilities apart from the couple that we've put out, I don't think there's much more to add to that. We'll see. It's the easiest way to put it, and we'll deal with what's necessary when we need to deal with it, as opposed to concern ourselves with what may be prior.
Thank you, brother. We fully covered that topic for now. Go ahead.
So can I ask a question? Hello? Do you hear me?
Of course, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, we
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I completely understand everything that was said, although I joined late. But I have a quick question. I'm sorry if I haven't got this right. We talked about the countries that the majority of people have already consented to GPMS. What happens to the countries that have zero to little, very little understanding about this kind of systems as the new that is coming? And I am fully aware of what is coming to this, but what about the collective that live form as a country based on this 3D system, a geographical border, that have no knowledge or understanding of these things, of new systems? What is the job for people like us to do? And do we just sit for the divine plan to come in, or do we need to do something, steps, as we are guided to? And of course, we won't be able to change the majority of the collective in a literally short amount of time, in a linear time. What happens in these cases, situations? Thank you.
You going to start that one, brother? Yeah.
I'll just simply say one thing, and then you, brother, please. No, go ahead, brother. I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Again, we're in a little bit of an area here of extrapolation. So currently, there's a consideration that countries and the people of those countries don't understand or don't know what's going on, but that doesn't take into account virality. That doesn't take into account major world events. That doesn't take into account sudden awareness. So what we're doing is extrapolating a linear timeline and saying, well, what happens if? Well, what happens if it doesn't happen that way and we hit virality tomorrow and something we can go out and all of a sudden it's broadcast all over the internet or all over everywhere and the media knows about it and the governments have collapsed and the worldwide banking system has shown its hand and the dark ones are shown to be what they are? What happens then? So in the same way that the question is asked based on one's not knowing, we could ask the same question based on, well, what happens if everybody finds out tomorrow and there isn't enough time to get everybody together? How will we cope? So we've got the same question, but seen from a different perspective. Virality will happen.
Because I come
Yeah.
from a country that has a very oppressive regime, so I don't want to go to the detail anyway. And I know that hearts of many people are with the positive change, but of course they don't have any control, and whatever the moves they have taken so far have been very brutally oppressed. So I think what I get from what you said is just about trust the divine plan, what is coming, and not seeing and trying to understand or analyze the situation from the mental thinking, mental realm, but just come back to the heart.
Perfect. And in that, then there's perspective. So we can look at, what happens if this, or we can look at the other side and what happens if that. And we don't know until it happens. So as we are going, what we do know is virality is inevitable. We just don't know when. What we do know is that the system is collapsing. We just don't know when it will collapse. What we do know is the lies cannot be hidden anymore. We just don't know how much before, how long before everybody knows. What we do know is the truth is coming to the table everywhere, and everything the dark ones try to do fails and creates more and more solidity in people saying no more. What we do know is the complacency is breaking down in many, even if they still remain quiet. So we do know all of these things are happening in the underneath the underbelly of humanity. I'm going to call it humanity, even though there's not much of it left currently in the outside world. But the underbelly of humanity is very itchy. It wants to move, but it just doesn't know where. So all it needs is a little bit of a direction and it will shift focus very, very quickly. And those that seem to have power will have none. And those that seem to be unaware will be very aware very quickly. And all of these things can happen in the blink of an eye almost. What we're just waiting for now is the divine timing for this. So, yes, the same as the rest of us, the trust and the faith and the innate knowing that this is the time. Thank you.
Beautiful, brother. Yeah, also, I believe it was Miriam with this, many divine brothers and sisters and souls have received the divine message, if you will, to at least gather the rest. And this is important, which means that you gather those that are in alignment, and that if there's ones rejecting that's not open to it, don't exert any energy on those. You look for the ones that are in alignment. And when you bring one in to GPMS, when you bring a soul that's in alignment, that recognizes that their energetic addition is great, if you will, and it changes things very rapidly. And in the metaphysical look, again, GPMS currently is, I like to say, the most powerful energetic, the most powerful energetics right at this time upon Earth, because of what it is in the alignment. You have 250 3,000 that are in alignment with a definite new world, a new future. But that intention and that energetic alignment equates into a very powerful energy as well. So you don't need to persuade and try to change one's minds that are unable to see it. You gather those that are in alignment with it. And it's, if you're in a country, let's say, where there's one consent, if you will, it doesn't matter, because, as we said, even one country can change that one country very quickly. And what Lee is saying about virality, you can see a flash flood very quickly. And also, what should be also considered when you saw the mass protests worldwide, over the course of the last several years, when you're seeing, let's say, 1 million people in London all gathered on the streets, what you're actually seeing is only the tip of the iceberg of the actual amount of unrest, meaning that when you see 1 million in the streets in London, there's probably 10 million that you don't see that did not go into the streets for various reasons.